Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
I-75, I-94, Wayne, Macomb, Oakland. I've seen more flat tires today than I've seen in the last 10 years. I'll show you what it's been like out here for dozens and dozens of drivers.
Steve, much of Metro Detroit is underwater. We have incredible visuals for you, as well as an amazing forecast of who gets it bad next.
And we will begin here at 5 o'clock with the weather. It has been unending rain seemingly for the last couple of days. It has caused flooding all over town, but look, hark, what light through yon clouds breaks? It would be the sun. Finally, at 5 o'clock. We finally are drying out a bit. Mother Nature, though, has left her mark, no doubt.
Indeed. Let's get right over to Ben. Ben, are we out of the woods just yet?
Well, the rain has stopped falling, so from that perspective, we're doing good. But the headaches may just be beginning as far as the flooding goes, because as you know, it's going to take a while for a lot of these area rivers and creeks to start coming down after all of this rain that we have seen. Now, the good news on 4 Live radar is all the rain is now south of the state. You see some of it down there towards the 80-90 tollway. Otherwise, the totals were fairly impressive over the last 3 days. Over 3 inches in Pinckney, Manchester over that mark as well. Linden and Genesee County close to 3 inches. Metro Airport officially picked up just over 2 1/4, and Farmington at 2.17, and that has caused some significant problems. These are all the areas where we're seeing river and creek flooding, and we'll start with the Lower Rouge in Inkster and Dearborn, the Rouge River in Detroit, the Clinton River in Sterling Heights and Clinton Township, and down here in the River Raisin, Monroe and Blissfield, which, by the way, Monroe County saw some of the lowest totals of rain and is seeing some of the biggest areas of flooding because all that water is coming downhill. As far as temperatures go, they'll be falling tonight, so we'll be freezing before 12 o'clock. Watch out for ice in the morning. We'll talk more about that and our next chance of rain coming up. Guys.
Okay, Ben, as you just saw, that rain is causing some big flooding in areas all over town.
Sky 4 spent a long time in the air today, found a number of areas in big trouble. Clinton Township to the north, Dearborn, Monroe to the south with River Raisin. Paula Tutman following the story. She's in Utica. That's another spot that's been hit pretty hard, as we can see behind her. Paula.
Yeah, I do want you to take a look at this because this is incredible. Also, we can feel that temperature drop right now. I want you to consider this formula, not only all of that rainfall, but snow melt. Also, the hardened ground as well as elevation or lack of elevation. All of that is a formula for flooding that can actually be forecasted. An aerial view tells the tale. A whole lot of Metro Detroit is underwater.
We got a lot of dirt and sand from the Clinton River in my garage right now.
At NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in White Lake Township, really smart people have been watching this rain and flood event intently.
Here's Detroit, here's Midland County.
Much like a meteorologist can forecast the weather, hydrologists can forecast floods. Dearborn and Detroit, while the flooding is bad, the worst is over.
Like the Rouge River, they're pretty much cresting on its way down.
Tonight, the worry zone is Utica and Clinton Township, thanks to the North Branch Clinton River. Michelle Mead has been delivering mail for 2 decades, and she says, post office poem or no poem, she can't get through to the houses on Davis.
If my vehicle stalls, then I get in trouble for it because it's a attempt that I shouldn't have taken.
This line right here is what's considered flood stage. It's usually when life or property begins to be affected. The red line here is where moderate flooding occurs, and then the purple line up here is where we consider major flooding.
Thursday, Blissfield downriver starts feeling the effects of runoff from upstream.
We should reach flood stage sometime late tonight, early tomorrow.
Friday, Monroe and Dundee will begin to flood. In Dundee, the post office is already on alert to start moving mail, supplies, and equipment off the floors.
6:50, water might start entering into the post office down there.
Saturday, it's Hamburg Township as the Huron River takes its turn through the floodplain. Okay, and so people really generally know how much they're going to flood because they have an experience in living in those areas. Generally, they do know a floodplain. However, this water is deeper. It is going up even faster. And listen, what is it like to be right here in Utica on Davis? Well, I can tell you this. Our hydrologist tells us it hasn't even gotten as bad as it's going to get. How do they get back and forth? Join us at 6. We're going to board a boat and show you guys.
Okay, thanks, Paula. Now to another situation all across the metro area that's now gone from a nuisance to downright dangerous.
Disastrous right now. Hard to drive anywhere without at least encountering some sort of pothole, and for so many that includes blown out tires or worse. Let's kick off our coverage on that tonight with Jason Colthorpe, who's been in the newsroom, and he's been looking for some of the worst around town, and they're pretty easy to find right now, aren't they?
Well, they just come flooding in as well, Devin. I mean, people emailing us and posting just about the potholes they experience. I mean, almost everybody knows about a pothole they want to avoid every single day. And of course, this is all happening, like Ben said, those temperature fluctuations that freeze the ground and then thaw it a little bit, and it breaks up when we get, you know, the potholes we see every year. But I've talked to numerous road commissions and road departments and MDOT in the last few days, and they all say this is possibly the worst season they've ever seen. And it's just a dire situation, like Kim said. It's an emergency. And just take a look at one of the latest ones we've had come to us. This is a picture of what, you know, could be the lake in the summertime. I mean, it looks so big. The kids could go swimming in that. That's actually a pothole. It's on Eureka Road at Trenton in Southgate. I mean, just it captures the whole reflection of a tree across the street. And after seeing people last night blowing out tires and private citizens trying to fill potholes themselves last night at 11, we put up a Local 4 pothole poll on the Nextdoor app and got a huge response today. More than 1,200 people voted and commented, and here's what we have. 38% say they have bumpy rides but no vehicle damage yet. 36% say they're avoiding certain roads to avoid damage. 12% have blown out a tire. 7% have had significant damage of more than $500. And 6% have had multiple pothole damage incidents, and just 1% saying they haven't had any damage, and another 1% saying we're all overblowing this. That clearly is the vast minority of things. Let's bring in Steve Garagiola, who's out and about today, and he's seeing what we've been seeing these last few days, just mass disaster. And he's looking for the worst of the worst, which can't be an easy job today, Steve. What are you seeing?
Jason, we have seen dozens of flat tires this afternoon. It is a mess out here, and nobody knows the answer. Is it because we've had so much snow? Is it because of the fluctuating temperatures? Is it because our Michigan roads have just given up and they are falling apart? Whatever the reason, dozens of drivers having serious problems out here this afternoon. Name a community in Metro Detroit and you'll find potholes eating cars.
I have the low-lying tires, and I think this is the 4th time I've hit a pothole in the last several years.
Here's a sampling of what we found today. I-75 near the Davison. A Wayne County crew patching bunkers blowing open faster than they can fill them. Casualties lined up on the shoulder both north and southbound.
There were about 7 or 6 cars. And after that, I witnessed about 10, so give and take about 20 cars.
This is the on-ramp to 696 at DeQuinder. By 1 this afternoon, the ramp is barely usable. Let's head west. I-94 near Livernois. More cars with flat tires along the shoulder. Northville Township, 8 Mile at the 275 overpass. More flat tires, more frustration.
There was a car next to me and there was a car behind me immediately. So I couldn't stop, because if I could stop, he would hit me from the behind. And if I would turn the other way to other lane, then I would hit the other car.
You know, and so many people facing that on the freeway, and that is something to keep in mind. You can't stop at 70 miles per hour, and you can't swerve into the other lane, so you just hit it and you take what you get. At least 2 of the people we talked to there had 2 flat tires, so that's the kind of day it's been. The flat tires, the rim damage, suspension damage, it's talking about money. And it's a good news or bad news story, depending upon your perspective. We'll take a closer look at that at 6 o'clock. Jason?
All right, Steve, we look forward to that and our pothole coverage, as you heard. Just getting started at 5:30, Nick Monticelli is going to talk to us about some major improvements coming to maybe the worst stretch of road in Metro Detroit. We'll get to that, and we'll also get back with Steve at 6 o'clock and delve into that poll a little bit more and hear from some of the viewers. Guys, back to you.
Really stunning stuff, and it really is affecting all of us right now, so we will stay on this. All right, Jason?
Indeed.
For it to get better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we do have some breaking news to pass along to you this afternoon. One of Ford's top executives is leaving the company over allegations of inappropriate behavior. The automaker's North America president, Raj Nair, is leaving the company effective immediately. Ford says the move comes after an internal review found Nair's behavior violated the company's code of conduct. Nair has been Ford's president of North America since June of last year. A replacement has not yet been named.
Now to brand new information we're learning in the tragic double murder suicide of an Oakland County woman and her 2 young children.
Yeah, so sad here. The crime scene was found yesterday behind an industrial building in Bangor Township near Bay City. Larry Spruill spoke to neighbors who knew the family. He's live in Oak Park tonight with more. Larry?
Good evening, Kimberly. Neighbors here in this Oak Park community tell me they are just lost for words after finding out that their neighbor killed her 2 children and then shot herself.
Oh, wow. You just never know.
Standing in just disbelief, Betsy Jackson is trying to grasp the news of her neighbor.
I'm shocked. Because just from appearances, you would never think that something like that was going on.
This is the scene Tuesday in Bangor Township as police are trying to find answers after an apparent double murder suicide left an Oakland County mother and her 2 young children dead. Investigators responded to an industrial park in Bangor Township just outside Bay City after a worker found 3 bodies. Officials say a 2-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl were both shot in the head. The boy was found just outside a black Lincoln and the girl was in the back seat. Police say the children's mother murdered them for reasons still unknown at this time before killing herself. It's news Jackson just does not understand.
Because she always seemed like such a pleasant person. Whenever, we said hello to each other, she would take the kids for a walk. He would be on the driveway. We'd always wave at each other and say hello. Man, that takes some getting used to.
Now, I spoke to the woman's sister earlier this morning, and she wanted to do an interview to speak on behalf of her sister, but just an hour before that interview, she decided to cancel. She says the family is requesting privacy at this time. We're live in Oak Park tonight. Larry Spruill, Local 4. Devin and Kimberly.
I understand. All right, Larry. Well, it turns out, once again, what's old is new.
New tonight, what makes this old building so special and why it could soon be Detroit's hottest new address.
Beautiful. Also, do you recognize this guy? New tonight, why police say he broke into a store but didn't end up getting away with anything. Rod.
As much as you'd like to think you don't depend on the mail,
they said if you want your mail, you can come down to the post office and get it.
You actually need it and delivered on time. But in one Metro Detroit community, it is not, and it's causing major problems.
New at 6.
A local man opening his mail finds someone else's sensitive information inside, including a copy of their social security card. New at 6, who sent this out and what the recipient is doing about it.
Also, he and his brother spent more than 25 years in prison before being cleared of murder charges. Well, now Thomas Hires is back behind bars, and you'll find out why coming up at 6 o'clock.
Folks in Ypsilanti say they are fed up with the Postal Service.
Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, who represents that area, stepped in on the issue. We bring in Rod Maloney with more about these complaints, which kind of run the gamut, Rod.
Well, they do, Devin. And, you might have experienced this on Monday. You go out to the mailbox, but it was President's Day, and so that check you were waiting for or that important document you might have been looking for didn't show up. You had to wait till the next day. Well, in Ypsilanti, that's pretty much a daily occurrence, we're told. Neither rain nor snow nor gloom of night, right? Well, not so much, says Ypsilanti attorney Bill Babbitt.
Quality of the mail service clearly has gone down over the last couple years.
He tells us his law firm often goes without mail delivery, sometimes has to go to the post office to pick it up, and it nearly cost a client a home last year.
We had a client last year who would have lost her home in a foreclosure for a document that we didn't receive in the mail. And we had to basically close down our office and send staff down to testify before a federal judge to say that we didn't receive this document.
This is one of hundreds of stories like this where residents aren't getting their mail or delivery that comes at 10 o'clock at night or even worse. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell got the calls. She wants something to change fast.
I worry about people whose medicine is sitting on trucks and they're not getting their medicine in a timely basis.
Dingell corresponded with the United States Postmaster General looking for some help, and it's led to a town hall meeting tomorrow.
They're understaffed, they're working, they're coming in at 7 or 8 in the morning, they're working till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. We need to figure out what's going on because it's unacceptable what's happening now.
I mean, our business is deadline intensive. We have, things that have to be done every day, and deadlines, everything is so intensive, deadline intensive in a law firm that the mail is critical to our business.
Now, if you're interested in attending the town hall tomorrow night, it is at the Marriott Eagle Crest in the ballroom. Goes from 6:30 until 8 p.m. We're told that there will be USPS employees there, but we called the U.S. Postal Service today. Nobody had anything to say from the Media Relations Department, and we'll see if, in fact, they're there tomorrow night. Reporting live, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
Sure will. All right, Rod. Well, again, we look at this horrible situation with the potholes. We had so much rain, which has been covering up a lot of them. You can't tell how bad it is that you're headed into, but at least that part is starting to dissipate.
Yes, we're going to dry out for about 24 to 36 hours, and then we start that process all over.
Yeah, there we go.
We need it, though.
But yeah, there's more rain to come, although it's going to be a lot lighter, and we will get more breaks than this more or less continuous stuff that we went through for the last 3 days. There were spots that picked up over 3 inches of rain. We showed you that at the top of the show. Here's some of the other ones. 2.2 reported in Adrian. Detroit is in the city, almost 2 inches of rain. Mount Clement's close to that mark, and then you start going further south, and this was that corner that got the lowest totals. Grosse-Ile 1.36, Monroe at 1.35, but we still have those flooding issues around the River Raisin as those areas see all that water coming downstream to some of the areas that saw the least amount of rain. Now, as far as the flooding pictures go, we've gotten lots of those, in storm pins. This is from Allen Park. That apparently is a street. You can see the water already starting to move up towards the homes there. I'll read this one from Croswell. It's the swinging bridge over Black River, or now I guess it's the Black River over the bridge. That's definitely something you don't want to be walking over. And in Dearborn, it's the new Island Clubhouse. Yeah, they got that new design out there. I don't know how you get to this thing, though. That's completely surrounded by water. So they've got lots of places where there is just way too much water out there, even outside of just around the rivers and creeks that have the warnings on them. Had a little bit of sunshine here this afternoon. The clouds are going to win out tonight. We'll call it mostly cloudy. Temperature at 42. That's above average, but nowhere near where we were yesterday when we beat that record. And by the way, we did by 9 o'clock finally beat yesterday's record. 36 is the wind chill with that north wind at 10. And yes, we will be talking wind chills as those temperatures drop into the 20s tonight. We've shunted all the warm air down to the mid-Atlantic coast, and those lucky guys and gals in D.C. are almost at 80 degrees right now, 79 the current temperature in the nation's capital. So there's that area of rain that finally moved out. Now there's a slight chance that we could get brushed by this as we get into tomorrow morning. Again, just the edge of it reaching our south zone. It will be a few snowflakes if it shows up, but it's an outside chance. Most of us are going to stay dry tomorrow morning. The only problem we're going to be watching for is a lot of that standing water freezes, and we're going to have ice. Otherwise, as we get into Friday morning, could see some freezing rain to start. That eventually becomes all liquid, although moisture amounts are going to be very light, probably around 1/4 of an inch at best with that area on Friday. So here are your lows as we get into tonight. Metro zone, we're looking at these numbers that are going to be dropping into the 20s. 26 in the city. South zone temperatures, mid to upper 20s here is what we're expecting. And for the most part, we'll stay away from the teens, although those numbers do get cooler into the north zone. Looks like a lot of 20s there, ranging up to 22 up in Sandusky. Plus, with just a little bit of a wind, we will be seeing those wind chills in the teens in some spots. High temperatures at their coolest tomorrow, then the 40s take hold Friday, Saturday, and early Sunday. Chances of rain all 3 days.
Look, what do you got there?
26 days, 18 hours, 54 minutes, and 34 seconds until spring. I'm not really counting.
I can't wait. And I think a lot of folks are with you.
All right, thanks, Ben. Well, there could finally be a breakthrough in treating peanut allergies. Ahead in Good Health, how a pill that contains peanuts may actually be the key.
But coming up first, what caused a major train derailment, and it was here in Michigan. We'll have that when we come right back. Across Michigan today, the wet weather may be to blame for a train derailment in Wyoming, Michigan. Late last night, a locomotive and a few cars of the freight train rolled off the tracks. It ended up shutting down some streets just before 10 p.m. Exact cause of that derailment, though, still not known. The tracks appear to have shifted in the wet ground, however. City workers used a backhoe and other equipment overnight to try to dig the train free. On the plus side, no serious injuries were reported. A beauty shop break-in prompts a search for suspects on Detroit's east side.
Crime happened early Sunday at the JJ Beauty Supply on East Warren near Connor. The suspects were able to get in after making a hole in the building near the front door. Once inside, police say they filled garbage bags with merchandise. However, when they heard security approach, they dropped the bags and took off. If you have any information, there's a good picture there on the left. Call police.
The historic Hunt Street station, otherwise known as the 3rd Precinct, is reopening as offices.
They will host a grand opening party on Friday at the old police station located off Gratiot at Hunt Street. The building opened in 1897 and served as a police station until 1959. It's been listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and the new owners, Matthew and Kevin Morin, turned it into offices and co-working spaces.
New at 5:30.
From classroom walkouts today to rallies across the country, it's a national day of student action on gun control.
The Olympics are about tradition, but this year, some new twists on old themes.
And a Dutch skater goes down.
Bumping, drafting, sprinting. It's called Mass Start, one of 3 new sports at these 2018 Winter Olympics.
I don't need to tell you, the potholes all over Macomb County and Metro Detroit are pretty disastrous. There's a plan here in Macomb County to ease the pain, though, but because of some legislative problems, it's only a temporary fix.
The men.
Big news for drivers in Macomb County. One of the worst roads is set to get some major repairs and get rid of at least some of those crippling potholes. Every year we hear it from our viewers. Something needs to be done to fix Mound Road.
This year it's like every day, to be honest. Well, that wait is almost over. Today a $10 million project was announced which will rehab a 4-mile section of Mound. But as Nick Monticelli shows us, this project is really just a Band-Aid.
So the sign essentially says it all, a resurfacing project, not a reconstruction project that goes from 14 Mile Road to 18 Mile Road. But as we said, many are wondering, why just 4 miles? Anytime we're working on a story, we always try to find the people that are affected by it.
I'm riding around on my spare tire right now.
But every once in a while, those people find us.
And this is the worst I've ever seen it.
James Ely's front tire was devoured by a pothole on Mound last week.
And I couldn't avoid it. It just boom. My steering wheel instantly was bent to the left. And I was like, oh man.
And just across the street, 2 people.
Oh, it's real bad.
At the same time, needing a tow truck.
We've been servicing 30, 40 people a day just for the potholes. Half of those, the wheels are destroyed.
Here's the good news, though. Help is on the way. Macomb County crews are going to start rehabbing Mound, both lanes from 16 Mile to 18 Mile. It's a $10 million project with 80% paid for by the feds. But it's really just a 5-year Band-Aid until a $217 million full reconstruction project can happen, and the funding for that is questionable.
We're hoping, we're begging, we're pleading, working with our congressional people that that money is going to come through, because it's not coming through statewide. The cities don't have it, Warren and Sterling Heights. The county certainly doesn't have that kind of money.
Work will begin as soon as possible, which for most drivers isn't soon enough.
Usually I'm pretty good, avoiding the potholes, but the only way to avoid a pothole leads you directly into another pothole.
In Sterling Heights, Nick Monticelli, Local 4.
Resurfacing will begin as early as June and should be done by the end of the year. County Executive Hackle blames the legislature for not properly funding road repairs. In fact, there's only enough money to do this small stretch. Otherwise, they would have fixed it further south.
Well, if you stayed at one of 3 healthcare facilities in Southeast Michigan in the last 9 months, you may have been exposed to tuberculosis. A hospital worker diagnosed with tuberculosis may have accidentally put patients at risk at the Ann Arbor and Livingston St. Joseph Mercy hospitals, as well as the South Lyon Senior Care and Rehab Center. Any patients of those facilities between May of last year and this month should see a doctor to get tested for tuberculosis.
A state trooper lost control of his vehicle and crashed early this morning, which temporarily shut down part of I-75.
The trooper saw a speeding car and was trying to catch up to it when he lost control of his patrol car. He hit the center median near 12 Mile while traveling southbound on 75. The trooper was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries and has since been released. Well, the discovery of a bullet caused a temporary lockdown at Garden City High School earlier this morning.
The school was put on lockdown around 8 in the morning after the bullet was found in the school. The lockdown lasted about 3 hours as police, with the help of some bomb-sniffing dogs, swept the entire school. When nothing else was found, the lockdown was lifted and classes resumed. A teen is locked up accused of making a threat against South Lyon High School. Police say 18-year-old Ryan DeBrine allegedly asked a friend through Snapchat if he wanted to, quote, reenact the Florida school shooting. That friend informed investigators. Deputies conducted a search of DeBrine's home and did not find any firearms. He was arraigned Tuesday and remains in custody. DeBrine will be back in court next Wednesday.
Today, students in Florida are setting off a chain reaction all across the country. Young people advocating for stronger gun laws. This comes as President Trump hosts families and survivors of school shootings at the White House. Blaine Alexander is following the developments from Washington. Blaine.
Well, hello to you from Washington. Many of these students do not know a world without school shootings. They were born after Columbine, and they've watched these tragedies become increasingly routine. And now they're the ones who are leading the charge to stop them. Today in Florida, students leading a national youth movement on gun control.
We won't stop! We won't stop!
Teens confronting state lawmakers and demanding change exactly 1 week after the deadly shooting in Parkland.
How would you feel knowing that your kid going to school on Valentine's Day is never going to come home because the last 10 minutes of school was their last 10 minutes of life?
That plea echoing today in classroom walkouts and rallies in Minnesota, Colorado, Pittsburgh, from Washington State to Washington, D.C.
We're not trying to take guns away from people. We're just trying to go to school without getting shot.
Their message reaching all the way to the White House, with President Trump holding a listening session with students, parents, and teachers, including survivors from Columbine, Newtown, and Parkland.
It's not going to be talk like it has been in the past. It's been going on too long, too many instances, and we're going to get it done.
The president supporting stronger background checks and a ban on bump stocks, but some gun rights advocates say that goes too far.
I'm sorry that they've lost their friends and everything, but again, it's not a reason. Our rights aren't negotiable.
Back in Florida's capital,
Mr. President, how much is my life worth?
Students refusing to walk away without change. And next month, many of those students will be right here in Washington for what they're calling a March for Our Lives rally. They're expecting to see supporters from around the country. In Washington, Blaine Alexander, Local 4.
President Trump also said during today's listening session that he likes the idea of concealed carry for teachers and administrators to help defend against school shooters.
The world's best-known evangelist, the Reverend Billy Graham, has died. His last religious crusade in the state of Michigan happened at the Pontiac Silverdome in 1976. And his last crusade in the city of Detroit was in 1953. Here's a look back on the life of this famous evangelist.
Jesus said you have to become as a little child.
The Reverend Billy Graham, the son of a North Carolina dairy farmer, lived to become one of the most beloved and most powerful religious leaders of our time.
And now on this 20th day of January, 1993,
he was the unofficial pastor of the White House, giving spiritual counsel to every president since Truman. He made the Gallup survey of the 10 most admired men in the world 37 times. He may be most remembered for his crusades, massive revivals which filled coliseums and stadiums around the world.
he has conquered the grave. He's alive.
Billy Franklin Graham grew up on his Presbyterian family's dairy farm. His ministry began in 1943 at a small Baptist church in Illinois. He preached on street corners, on radio, and was one of the first ministers to embrace the new medium of television.
Give your life to Christ now, right in your home. Bow your head. And as we face a new millennium.
Late in life, as his body was weakened by Parkinson's disease, his faith remained rock solid. Graham passed away at his home in North Carolina. He was 99 years old. If you go to clickondetroit.com, we'll have a comprehensive look at his life and legacy.
In Good Health tonight, a promising new treatment could help children suffering from peanut allergies. A California drug company has developed a daily capsule containing peanut flour that seems to desensitize children to nuts. Preliminary treatment results show 67% of kids using the capsule were eventually able to tolerate small amounts of peanuts. The company plans to file for approval by the FDA by the end of the year.
Researchers may have a way to live longer. One says reaching for a wine glass may help you live a little longer. A neurologist from the University of California studied 1,700 people who lived until at least 90 and found people who drank 2 glasses of wine reduced their chances of dying prematurely by 18%. But before you cancel your gym membership, the study also found that 15 to 45 minutes of exercise has that same effect, but with added health benefits.
So you really said if you drink wine and go to the gym.
Man, if you do both,
You're doing well.
you've got it licked. The U.S. just had the largest medal haul since these Winter Olympics began. 4 medals in one day.
Yeah, this now brings our medal count to 16 with just 4 more days of competition left. NBC's Gina Kim joins us from Pyeongchang with the very latest. Gina.
We got 1 or 2 yesterday of every color on the medal rainbow, all in events that were anchored by women. This Olympics has the most competitions for women ever in the history of the Olympics, and they are really stepping it up. And of course, that continues tonight when the U.S. women's ice hockey team goes for the gold. Medal number 1 of the day came from Lindsey Vonn, who skied her way to bronze in her final alpine downhill.
I gave it everything I had. I've worked so hard, especially, the last 8 years.
Medals 2, 3, and 4 all came at once. Bronze in the women's long track team pursuit.
It's going to be close. Cross the line. U.S. wins.
The first speed skating medal for U.S. ladies in 16 years.
She's nailed it.
Silver in women's bobsled, won by Ilana Myers-Taylor and Lauren Gibbs. And gold in women's cross-country skiing team sprint relay, the first cross-country medal for U.S. women in Olympic history.
I just wanted to lay down the absolute race in my life to make it possible.
In figure skating, the 3 American women struggled in the short program, ending in 9th, 10th, and 11th place, heading into Friday's free skate medal competition.
Final minute of overtime.
The U.S. men's ice hockey team got eliminated after a quarterfinal game against the Czech Republic that went into overtime and shootout rounds.
Jan Schuster makes his final play of ending.
And in curling, American men defeated Great Britain to advance to the semifinals. And we got a lot of events that favor the U.S. still to come tonight. Michaela Schifrin, Lindsey Vonn, Jamie Anderson, and a potential sweep of the podium by the U.S. men in the ski halfpipe. In Pyeongchang, Gina Kim, Local 4.
All right, thank you, Gina. Before coverage begins tonight, make sure to tune into the O-Zone. Meryl Davis is in tonight to talk about last night's figure skating short program. The O-Zone at 7:30 right here on Local 4. One of the country's largest movie theater chains has a strict new rule in place.
Yeah, new tonight, what Cinemark says you can no longer bring inside the theater.
And what is he up to now? The bizarre project Jeff Bezos is spending millions on that has absolutely nothing to do with Amazon.
But first, they're the new sports at this year's Olympics, and they're sure to get your blood pumping. We'll show you why one of them has even been called NASCAR on skates. That's coming up next.
5-time champ. New at 6.
Flowers and balloons now sit outside this home after it caught on fire.
My neighbor stayed on this side. She ran over to my door banging.
I'm Larry Sproul, and I'll tell you what police say may be the cause of it.
Plus, trouble in the school drop-off zone. What happened between 2 parents that got the attention of Troy police?
This year, there's some very cool new sports at the Olympics.
So, what makes mass start speed skating, big air, and team skiing so different? Steve Garagiola has a look at 3 wild sports making their debut in Pyeongchang.
This is traditional speed skating. 2 skaters stay in your lane, race against the clock. It's fast, smooth, but to some observers, it's boring. Now, this is called mass start. Back in the Olympics for the first time since 1932. Mass start puts 24 skaters on an icy 400-meter oval to race against each other. Definitely not boring.
And a Dutch skater goes down.
So, long track speed skating. 2 guys go to the line, 1 in each lane. You're racing against the clock. Throw that all out the window.
bumping, drafting, sprinting, 16 laps to the finish.
The mass start is like NASCAR on ice.
Pushing the pace.
You've got 24 guys ripping around, tight turns. There's crashes, there's strategic maneuvers the whole race. Everyone's trying to position themselves.
He blows by Bergman towards the line, and he'll take the win.
Also new to the Olympics, mixed team alpine skiing. Teams from 16 nations in a tournament-style bracket. No race against the clock here.
It's just 2 guys and 2 girls on the team, and it's a dual slalom, and it's head-to-head like old school pro style.
Each head-to-head race lasts no more than 25 seconds. Win and you're in.
With the team event, it's side-by-side, elimination, advance, and you have to go all out, and there's little jumps, quick turns, and it's fun to watch.
Equally fun to watch is big air snowboarding in its Olympic debut. Though it's been a snowboarding world championship event for 15 years. It's a little like ski jumping. Athletes fly down a huge ramp 160 feet tall in Pyeongchang. One jump, take your best shot.
Big air is what the name sounds like. One big jump. Athletes perform their toughest maneuver and try to land it as clean as possible. Just simple as that.
These 3 new sports are an effort to recruit more young people into the Olympic audience, each one introducing a new level of speed, danger, and a little mayhem. So what's not to like?